All right, I'll call to order the Public Works Utility Committee, Lisbon Village Hall, Wednesday, September 18th, 2024. Time is 5:01 p.m. Roll call, please.
Chair Trustee Moonen,
Present.
Committee Member Miller. Present. Committee Member Everly,
Present.
Committee Member Plus,
Here.
Engineer Neitzel,
Here.
Utility Administrator Mike Sargent,
Here.
DPW Director Nick Wilikowski,
Here.
Administrator Nicholas.
Here.
Clerk Capazzo Catch to record the minutes, and Vice Chair Trustee Beal is absent and excused.
All right, we'll stand for pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Citizen comments will start in person. If you wish to make a comment, please step to the podium, state your name. None wishing to do so, Zoom check.
No one present on Zoom.
All right, last call. Moving on to approval of meeting minutes, the 8/21/2024 Public Works and Utility Committee meeting is in your packet as a draft. Any questions, corrections?
I have one correction for the roll call. Joe Eberly was not present and you have him listed as present.
No, I'm listening as absent.
Oh, you're listed as both. I will make that correction.
I am?
Yeah.
Darn it, I almost made $25.
All right.
You missed me then.
Anyone else see anything that they have questions on? All right, hearing none, I'll look for a motion to approve.
I make a motion to approve pending the correction.
All right, motion's made. Anyone second?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Plus. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye.
I abstain.
All opposed? And one abstaining, so 3-0. All right, moving on to department reports. First off, Department of Public Works, Nick Wilikowski.
All right, August was a very busy month for the highway department, a lot of cross culverts we replaced and Dave. We did, some shoulder repairs and we kind of prepped the wood side, right, North Lisbon for chip sealing. We, did a bunch of mastic work too, we did all the golf course subs and, did a little repair on wood side, so we'll have for slag over the top, and we went through 12 pallets this year, which is a lot of material within for 5 days. So you guys knocked that out of the park, and I just did like a whole repair stuff that popped up randomly, but a lot of mastic and over work going on the parks department. Grass and weed whacking per usual, weeding, that was the last month of summer helps, they're down to 2 guys again. They're gonna work on the tree nursery. Tree brush maintenance. And I helped out the crews for a lot of the culvert work and masticing, just because being short handed for flagging purposes, kind of extra guy out there for that stuff, so. Helped with the crews for that and worked on capital improvement plans, worked on Kathy and office work, did employee reviews with Kathy also, and maybe current payrolls towards invoices.
I'm surprised how long that mastic works. That one that's right in front of our house, that big patch, it looks like the day it was put down, and that was what, 3 years ago? Yeah, unbelievable. Yeah, what it costs, it should. Good.
Oh, yeah. So we were doing some surveillance work on Wire Road and, that road's shared with Pewaukee and I believe. East End shared with Fall or something, but, where we share with Pewaukee towards the railroad tracks a little more, there's we were measuring culverts for the culvert inspection, and that when we went to measure, there's a sinkhole. Right along the edge of the road where the concrete culverts are, and two concrete culverts, they separated, broke, and now there's material falling into the culvert. So we repaired it, not fixed, just a repair to get through this year. But I think something we're gonna need to kind of. They talked to Mitch about to see if it needs to be concrete, with how much clearance we have to the road. If you get over the galvanized pipe or not, or it needs to be concrete, just because. It's end walls and concrete super expensive, I think they're like. I forgot the size of the pipes, or it's 2 or 3 foot pipes, both of them, so. I do have a picture,
Yeah, better understand.
but where the male and female ends kind of connect, they. Talk about collapse and there's 2 sinkholes and it's all the way around.
How old is that? Any sense? That's what's installed.
Is it culvert up into the road base? Or is it,
It's about a foot off the shoulder. So it's off the shoulder,
or it is off the road?
so we.
Oh,
fixed it
yeah.
Temporarily, we put.
Nice.
That's a
Somebody
sign
did a
over
correct
it,
job,
everything
they
concrete
They
over it,
broke
but
them up with.
Yeah.
I wonder
maybe
if
this
those
one
are.
next year, no problem, 2 years or.
Electrical colors.
We're gonna get open itself up
Right.
so high. So you guys are aware, it's about to talk to them to see what type of pipe.
Yep.
Might be a number for stormwater. So.
Where is it on, where is it?
It's on Wire Road, it's on the north end. Probably 200 feet. Still though. Railroad track.
By that field?
Yeah, by the field, yeah.
I wonder when that was put in, because from looking at that picture for 3 seconds. It looks like that joint was damaged. I mean, that doesn't happen by itself. I wonder if that wasn't. Waukesha used to sell. Used pipe. In seconds, and I'm wondering if that isn't what that is. That didn't happen by itself.
Yeah, I don't know, so the issue is there's probably a foot of water in there, so not gonna do a simple. Rip it out, use that type of job, it's gonna be. Something over down, everything, go do it and chairs and keep walking there, so it's.
We will be talking to you about this.
Is it on the paving schedule?
I know.
If it's not, it should be.
Yeah, it's rough. That's not enough to help keep walking. No sense of doing our side, they don't want to do their side.
Where's the joint on our side or their side?
Yeah.
So at least it didn't have
Still
to do with
close.
the water main project there a few years ago.
So you guys are aware that when we're doing our culvert inspection, I do have some pictures I will show later out. Lake 5 Road over Bark River, the boards are bellowed out pretty far. Holding right now, but their asphalt's crumbling into the river and everything, and they're going out probably a foot to 2 feet, so. I think it's one thing I put on the list, it doesn't qualify for a culvert because the span is too large, so it's actually. It's a bridge, so for the project, it doesn't classify for what we're looking for, because even though there's 3 culverts in there, but the span is so large, it classifies as a bridge. So. The only thing you have to keep an eye on, because it's all starting to roll, the flex beam starting to push over, so. Something to kind of keep an eye on,
See,
not what to do.
since it is a bridge, have we looked at bridge grant?
I have not.
It's a good program to apply for, but is there a number on the bridge? It's gotta be,
What's that? Bridge?
right, it's gotta be a registered structure to be able to apply for a bridge. The one thing to look at is. You said it spans pretty great, but does it exceed what they have for a culvert?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's over 6 feet, yeah. So,
Okay. Yeah, with the bridge funding through DOT, if it's not a registered structure. It doesn't have an actual number, it won't qualify for that program, so that'd be one thing to look at.
Getting it registered?
if you want to do that, but yeah. Otherwise, I mean, it'd be something you could look at instead of a one span, we could look at putting a number of culverts in there, box culverts to get away with it that way. We've done that before.
All right, so anything else from Department of Public Works? Where was that? I just had a question on that picture. Before the culvert replacements, where was that path next to that playground?
Also, we paved another path for Village of Sussex.
Oh, okay.
That was, I forgot. the name of that part. Yeah,
Good.
it's the-
Broken.
Rogan? But the one by the water utility?
No, behind Ace Hardware, way back.
Oh, yeah. All right, anything else for Nick? Moving on to Don, utility.
All right, good evening. My report should be in your packet. Flows for August for Janine, Plainview and Willow Springs were all right where we normally see them this time of year. With the weather being as dry as it is, that would be expected. Richmond School Lift Station, the same. We had 36 hours of runtime for the month, averaged about 0.2 hours for pump one and 0.3 hours for pump two per day. The actual well reading for the school was 16,000 gallons, so that is definitely down from what we've seen the last 3 months. Last 3 months, it was pretty high. I think the month prior in July, it was 71,000 gallons that they were at.
For
So
the
it-
well,
for the well. So, I did check with Adam, the building and grounds guy. He did say over the last few months, they have been pressure washing all the furniture in the school. And that they've also been doing stuff cleaning the bathrooms. I didn't. Kavacking, I think he said. I don't know exactly what that term means, but he said that they use a lot of water for that as well. So that would explain, I think, the high water usage over the months of June, July and May, June, July. So water's definitely back down. When I brought it up, he knew exactly why it was up.
Can I just ask a question?
Sure.
Do you know if they drag everything outside to wash that, or is that all going into the sand?
From what I understood, it was all the stuff that was pressure washed in terms of furniture was done outside, from what I understood.
I hope so. There's no place in that building.
Not to take, you know.
And you never know. Richmond.
Then also sticking with Richmond School, I did check with Adam. I sent him a copy of the letter that the village would have sent the school regarding the inflow and infiltration. I talked with him on that, explained to him what the previous buildings and grounds guy had done up to, to the time he had left. Since our phone call, Adam did look at some of the roof drains. He felt he found a couple that would be connected to the sanitary. So we went down and met with him on September 11th to look at a couple of these locations. He could be right, but it's tough to tell based on looking at 3 different sets of plans from the 70s and all the different additions that were done. So what we'd like to do is combine everything into one plan set as far as the underground plumbing and the roof drains. And so when you're there, you can mark something up on one plan sheet and know what you're looking at. But we did look at some of those locations. We went out, looked for a couple storm sewer outfalls. There was one we couldn't find that was shown on the plan. So I don't know if as part of one of the additions, one disappeared or what they did with that. So we spent a couple hours down there with him going through stuff. He ended up having to go on to other things, but we're gonna schedule another time to go down. Before we do that, though, we're gonna make that one drawing to show everything on one sheet, so we're not trying to page through multiple plans and different plan sets to
The best guess.
look at something. But with them roof drains, what we'll look at doing is dye testing those.
Yeah.
We'll have one guy outside and another guy up on the roof and so we can start telling where stuff goes, but he already brought it up to the school board that he felt that a couple of them that he already had the time to look at were tied to the sewer, so he's already made the school board aware that there might be an issue there. So Any questions with that or Richmond School? Okay, fire station, the well usage was about the same for the month. It was at 2,000 gallons. The month prior was at 1,900. Casey's well for the month of August was 26,600 gallons, while in June it was 18,900. I don't know if they have a sprinkler or something there they might be using or. Oh, yeah. But again, those flows for Casey's are, they're in line with what we saw in 2023. Any questions on the well readings? No update on system maps for this month. The CMOM, talked with Kathy. I'm gonna meet with her next week on the draft, so we'll have that on the agenda for October for approval. And then the business park east, the flow meter install, I've reached out to Menominee Falls a few times, have not heard back. So what I will do next week is I will reach out to LW Allen Energetics and William Reed and get quotes on them installing a flow meter in that manhole. In the meantime, if I get a hold of Menominee Falls, I'll see if they're willing to go in on it or not, but I'll have costs for next month. Yeah, I have a contract with Butine Peterson for regrading that ditch on the west side of Leeds Lane. So we'll get that done. And again, Kunkel will take care of that cost.
They have a date for that completion. I got a few questions about it.
In terms of them getting in there.
Yeah.
I reached out to Joe about it. He didn't commit to a date yet. He said they will get it done this year, but I will keep pressing them for a date.
Okay.
As soon as I know, I'll let you know. Any questions?
Always we can keep Richmond doing something. Or I die of old age.
Well, I think getting all this stuff on a sheet and then as you're going through, being able to mark it up, what's actually going where, so you do have an as-built, because right now we're looking at 3 different sets of plans and none of them really mesh
And
together.
probably none of them are as-built, so.
Right.
Any questions for Don? Moving on to Mike.
Nothing much to add what Don said. The only other thing would be in the flow, the flows at Silver Spring School always go up in the summertime. That's because their irrigation, their lawn irrigation runs through that meter. So we're billed on the water meter, not on what goes through the sewer. So it just jumps up during the summer.
They don't have a sprinkling meter?
So do they average the winter quarters and then bill on the winter quarters, or do you just?
We bill on their actual whatever Sussex bills us. So Sussex bills on the meter, water meter usage. We pass that right on to them.
Okay,
Concerns over that?
no, it's their money,
Well,
It's our taxpayer money.
yeah.
There's ways to maybe work around it if we do any kind of reopening of any of those agreements at all.
all right. Any questions for Don? Or, sorry, Don and Mike.
No.
All right, 6, unfinished business, discussion necessary action regarding proposed sewer service area expansion and potential cost of same. Don?
So in your packet was a copy of the cost estimate for what we at last meeting termed phase 1 for that sewer extension, which basically took it from the connection at Business Drive and ran it up to Richmond School and then just across Moraine Drive. What I handed out tonight was the exhibit that would go with the estimate, just so we're all kind of confirming what we're looking at in terms of phase 1. I will say the one thing that's not shown is the small stub going up to get past the turn lanes that we talked about. That included in the estimates, just not shown on the exhibit. But on that first page of the exhibit, and the rest of them are just blow ups of the different sections where you see photo 1, photo 2, photo 3. As I said, be a connection at Business Drive intersection. Then it'd be a 15-inch sewer running to the west. And then ultimately where we looked at splitting off right where Lisbon Road curves, where we'd split off and look at a future trunk sewer. Right there's where we'd look at changing that mainline sewer to a 12-inch. We'd still be able to, serve that entire area with that. And then from there, run it up to the school across Moraine Drive and the stub up to get past the turn lanes on Moraine Drive to the north. I did have a discussion with Mr. Eberly about the exhibit. I also did have a discussion with Waukesha County in terms of putting the pipe in the right of way. They are currently training a new utility permit coordinator. So I'm waiting to hear back from that person. They just started on September 9th. But the one thing Joe and I talked about was looking at if we could have the sewer put on the south side of the road to stay away from the power poles that are on that side. With the depth of the sewer and digging by those poles, it's almost like you'd have to hold every pole just to keep them there while we're digging by. So that's one thing when the county gets back to me, I'll tell them if we had our preference, we might look at, we'd like to look at the south side of the road to avoid that, and the concrete paved ditch as well on that north side. So as you can see, the estimate, it's a lot of money, obviously, and it's something that's gonna have to be looked at and talked about. Whether it be through assessments or how you would look at funding that, but. A couple things also I noted on the bottom of the estimate, we included rock excavation because in this area, obviously got rock. We made an assumption and really we're not gonna have a hard number on that until the geotech work would be done, so we could find out how deep is the rock really and how much are we gonna be into it the whole way.
And you're saying that sewer on Lisbon's 15 to 20 feet deep?
15 to 20 feet deep through the deepest area, yep.
Okay.
We did have the one thing to bring up too, and I think it was on photo 2. Yeah, photo 2, where we jump across the road right now on that exhibit, right after we leave the village of Sussex, the dashed blue line on the first page. Right now, we got a board and jack casing, basically a steel casing showed going underneath the road because the sewer is still kind of shallow there. So we're just making an assumption that the county might make us put a casing in. If we can get away without doing it and the village is okay with it, maybe we eliminate that. But right now we have it in there. So I have reached out to the county, waiting to hear from them. And then I also did reach out to Sewer Pack regarding the amendment to the sewer service area, because the majority, if not all of this, is not in right now. The only stuff that's in is Richmond School, the fire station, and I think a couple properties right at that corner. So I had a discussion with Sewer Pack. They listed the 4 criteria that they're gonna look at to determine whether or not we gotta do a full amendment or an abbreviated amendment. And Joe Deitel at Sewer Pack was gonna look into this and get back to me, but those 4 criteria are: 1, has Sussex done an amendment in the last 10 years, a full amendment in the last 10 years? Have they done a lot of amendments in the past 10 to 20 years? If the change to the area is 1,000 acres or over, which we are at about 790 acres. And then how old is the facility plan for Sussex? So he was gonna look at that and then get back to me and give me his thoughts. He thought with the acreage, if we looked at doing the whole area, you'd probably be looking at a full amendment, which a full amendment, you're looking at 1 to 2 years or maybe even a little longer. An abbreviated amendment could be 6 months to a year, a little bit more.
I think we need to look at anything that we have now or foreseeable future that's going to be, bless you, it's going to be added to Sussex. Now's the time to do it.
Yeah.
So whole facilities plan, because it's not just this. Maybe some stuff up 164. I mean, we got. It's almost the same amount of work to do this as it does this, because if you do this and then you have to do it again, you're just gonna keep. Wasting time and money on the whole thing, so I think we need to look at. Right, the stuff up 164 in Plainview, I mean, we should. Look at this whole enchilada. Because now's the time to do it.
There, I guess, yeah, there's two ways to look at it. One. If he says a full amendment has to be done, well, then it's a no-brainer to go that route. If he comes back and says an abbreviated amendment could be done with the potential development you might have coming, that might be what we want to do, and just look at that area right now on the north side of Lisbon Road up to the school and get that in. So really, I guess it depends on what he comes back with. I
We
told
also-
Joe I'd get him a map of the overall area we looked at in the sewer service study, and then I told him I'd send him on with that area just north of Lisbon Road up to the school so he could see that and try to make a determination.
We also need to. Keep in mind that. In this area that we're talking now. Along Lisbon Road and to the west. If we don't include the whole area that you have outlined in, that is. Tributary to Sussex by the business park. We won't be able to assess it. And we won't be able to get money for the sewer, and we won't be able to size it for it, which doesn't make sense. We need to do the whole thing. Otherwise, they'll only allow us, rightfully so, to put in a much smaller pipe. And we're just shooting ourselves in the foot. We should put in this whole area out through here. For this area, and then the full thing that we do for everything, because you don't want to, if you go back. Everything you put in the ground has just been wasted. And we're talking significant dollars. So.
Does the county have any capital projects for reconstructing this road, or is that gonna be part of the?
I haven't heard from, like I said, I had a discussion with Jason Mayer there and, he copied me on an email to somebody else that's training the utility permit coordinator, but they didn't, at this time, didn't bring anything up and I haven't heard back from them yet. I can ask, I'll find out.
I doubt if they're gonna do anything on Lisbon Road. It's in pretty decent shape. The only thing is how. I am concerned about. The person who's gonna be the utility coordinator. That they're hiring, if he or she. What they have for experience, because if they just hired somebody who. Has never done this before, it's gonna be a push. We need to go on the south side, there's no question. I mean, the difference in cost is gonna be significant.
I mean, in speaking with Jason, he had thought there's plenty of right of way there, and he said if there's plenty of right of way, we typically don't have an issue with permitting the utility in there, but he said that's not his job to issue that, that's why. Wait to hear from the person that can, but. Any questions?
I think, go ahead.
You don't need any action to the board for this, do you? It's just information until we find out.
I
Or-
would think, I mean, I know we talked about me having a contract for design services, but until we know what sewer pack, which way it's going, because that's gonna be part of what we're gonna be helping with is that. So, yeah, the county won't be, that permitting stuff won't be too tough with them, but sewer pack, if it's. Depending on, coordination with Sussex for facility plan update and everything else,
Do
it
we
could be a
know,
lot.
do we know if they've had an updated
No.
facility plan?
Joel said he'd be looking into that. Otherwise, I would reach out to Judy, but Joel said he'd take care of looking into all that and get back to me.
It's up to Joel anyway. I think we. Should have a informal conversation. With the major property owners in this proposed service area. so that we find out what their short and long-term plans are for their properties. It doesn't need to be a formal thing, but we gotta get a sense for, this covers quite a large area. And again, I get back to the fact that it will dictate the size of the pipe, it'll dictate the placement of the pipe, it'll dictate the cost of the pipe. And we have to get a sense. And I think there's like 5 major property owners within this yellow line. So we need to have a conversation. So I think that's why we're waiting for these other things to be straightened out. That's more of a indicator of what this is gonna be. Cause otherwise we're just doing this. We can't do the facility plan regardless of whether it's an amendment or a redo. We can't do that without knowing that. We've got to look at land use and compare. We have to know what this is going to be by the comp plan through the plan commission and that, so we know how big the size of the pipe. We can't go anywhere without anything. So I don't know the best way to have this conversation with these 5 entities. I think that needs to get done. Because if they flat out say, we have no intention ever of developing this vacant land. And they understand that if they do that, that means never, then we need to know that, so we know how to size this.
You know, you never say never.
I know.
Always gonna change.
Or 5 times.
But the first pipe we put in the ground, the first 8-foot piece of pipe, this all gets assessed. Even though they don't hook up for 10 years. But we need to know that, they need to know that, because even though if when we come up with an assessment policy, we end up with some deferments on this, which we probably will. Until they develop or they sell the property, we need to know that the size of that pipe, because we won't be able to design it, we won't be able to get approval for the design, and we certainly won't be able to construct it. And we won't have any money to pay for it, so. I think that's the next thing that needs to get done. And that can get done. It doesn't need it to be anything formal, we just need to have a sit down with 5 people and say, show them this and say, this is what this could be when you grow up. So so they know how to plan what they're doing.
Don, is that something that Congo would manage?
Well, we'd definitely be at the meeting and deal with the property owner, sure. I mean, I would think the village would be reaching out to coordinate the meeting, obviously, and everything, but we'd
Right.
definitely be
Yeah,
there. Yep.
I'm just talking more of the latter things you mentioned.
Yep.
Is that something you're looking at this year?
I
mean, how quickly are you looking at making them?
I guess it kind of depends on those timelines that Don gave. You know, as far as if it's a,
Well, do you already have potential developers in this area?
We do
And
have-
what is
Yeah.
their timeline?
Yeah, they would like to go ahead and have the second this year, but next year.
We may have more once
they hear.
they hear it. I mean, it's like. Cause the person who owns this over through here has developed other stuff. The person that over here that owns this, they just created a CSM for 1 lot for a person. But they may be interested if they knew that it was going to be a ways off, cause I believe that they may just want to do that. Kathy says there's one over here. There's a person who's done development before in the past. And if he or she hears that there's gonna be sewer available, that changes everything. Cause instead of having 1 acre lots, you're gonna end up with something probably a lot smaller and a lot more of them.
Alright. So yes, possibly. All right, any other questions on that new item?
A long road.
So it's- That estimated construction contract. The 2.7 number,
Yep,
is that plus the 3.1?
no, but that 3.1 has our engineering built in it, so when we say estimated construction contract, that's what we're deeming construction to be at. When we go out for bids. I think based on a percentage they had in the estimate, yeah, the 409,000.
Don, did you ever find out if the firehouse has got a basement?
I did not find out if the firehouse has a.
We want to get that firehouse picked up with a gravity sewer.
There's no base.
Does it have a basement? Okay, we want to make sure when the sewer goes in. Between now and the end of the world, we want to have a gravity lateral coming out of that building into this new
Yeah,
sewer.
that
Get
would
rid
be
of
I'd hate to go past that with this pipe and not, so yeah, we'll,
So,
The whole idea that we started this side of
The whole idea we started this side was to get rid of that force main
Yes.
issues that we're having, so.
okay. Next.
All right, Kathy, do you need any action items from us?
I do not.
New business, 7A, discussion necessary action regarding Dorner quote for lift station inspections. And recommendation to village board of same, Don?
Dorner, I passed it out tonight. Dorner did not get the quote to Sussex in time for the packets, but I passed it out tonight. We can discuss it, take action next month. It's up to you guys. They included Richmond lift station. You can see everything, on the quote there, which would include. So for all four stations, it would be $1,750 with a report at the end.
Why would we do Richmond lift station? It's not ours.
It was brought up at last meeting about possibly including that.
I don't see any reason to spend our money or anybody's money to do an inspection of their lift station.
Because our fire station goes into it.
I mean, $500 is $500. I'm cheap, but it's just like. They need, that's theirs. Always has been, always will be, till it's tore out. Just like the lateral going to the school and the removal of that lift station will be Richmond schools. Somebody may raise the issue, and I think rightfully so, is why are we paying to inspect something that we don't own and we're not responsible for? I'm sure the cost is not gonna be significant. If it's $1,750 for four of them, it may be $300 less not to do theirs, but it's like. Ain't our problem. I don't wanna come up with a report that says that thing is 10 seconds away from imploding, and it's like. So, it's not our problem. They've had problems with that station since day one. It was,
Would this, Mike, would this fall under
Split.
split for the review of the station?
I believe that the agreement was that the Lisbon Sanitary District would take care of the lift station and then pass the cost on.
Okay.
And that was part of that agreement that they came up with the 60/40
Mhm.
split. So I think it is contractually our problem based on the agreement that was signed.
There you go. It's not worth an argument for
Right, well,
40% of $3 or
the
300.
failure of that lift station could have significant impact
Yeah.
backwards on us.
Agree.
I make a motion to approve the Dorner, quote for the lift station service agreement for cost not to exceed $1,750.
Motion made by Jane, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Mr. Plus, any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
I,
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 4-0. All right, discussion necessary action regarding recommendation to village board to award garbage and recycling contract to begin in 2025.
All right, so we did put out bid documents and we received 3 curbside pickup bids and 1 up the drive bid from GFL. So I've got in the chart in front of you, I have the breakdown of per unit, per house, per month of curbside and then weekly and then bi-weekly recycle amounts. And then all the way to the right is the up the drive GFL amounts, same thing per unit per month. So in the audience, we have a representative from GFL, also a representative from Waste Management. So if you have any questions on either. But go ahead.
Yeah, do you just want to give a recap of our current arrangement and why we're at this?
Yeah, so currently our contract is up at the end of this year. We are with Waste Management. We are an up the drive, we give up the drive service to all our residents at a rate of about $21.50 a unit per month. It's approximately. So now when I'm talking about $21.50, it's also includes the tonnage in that. So if we add $4 on any of these numbers, that's closer to what it's going to be for adding the tonnage of the solid waste disposal. So so we have, if we're just looking at next year, I'm not sure if the committee was interested in curbside or up the drive at this point. Our residents are very used to our up the drive service. And we were hoping to get more bids for up the drive, but we only got the 1 bid. And so when Waste Management, my understanding is when Waste Management bought Advanced Disposal, a portion of it stayed as Waste Management and a portion of Advanced Disposal moved to GFL. So we've got as part of Advanced Disposal in both the service that we're getting now and GFL service.
I'm sorry, Kevin, what did you say what we have right now?
We're about $21.50.
That includes the $4?
Yes. And that's up the drive service.
Yes.
And we expected this to go up. So, the cost of service to go up. It's a 10-year contract. That's what we currently have right now that, it's worked well for us the last 10 years. And so, we went with that in the bid, and proposals.
Were you ever part of the Waukesha County bid?
We did. We worked with Waukesha County last time and we couldn't get into it this time because because of the issue that they have with their recycling plant burning down. They have not, they have asked a lot of the people to do a holdover year. And the cost of the holdover year for us was substantial. And that's why we went forward with the bid documents.
Did you consider a 5-year contract versus a 10-year contract?
I did not. I went straight with what we had in the past.
Would that have a bearing on cost or why you ask that?
I am aware of the Waukesha County when they were coordinating it. I just didn't know, I thought that they were looking at doing that again in the future, and I thought maybe a 5-year cost. Somehow if we could coordinate that time frame, that we could then participate in that Waukesha.
I think they're
program.
looking at doing it next year. So my understanding was they were looking at possibly doing it next year because they asked everyone to extend 1 year if they could.
And I think that was, well, I think it was difficult for some communities,
Yep.
so that they were still able to get into a shorter contract time.
Yeah, we just went with a full contract again.
I guess for waste management, you the representative? Could we ask you some questions at the podium? So our current Up the Drive is very popular and requested by our citizens. Are you guys not supporting that type of service?
Kind of a
Hmm.
difficult way to put this, easy answer. We'll do easy answer. If it was a very short term contract, we would entertain it. The fact is that Up the Drive work isn't the most efficient. There's a lot of wear and tear on those pickup trucks, on the drivers themselves, right? Because they're physically doing all the work. If it was a short term, we would entertain it. Obviously be more of a premium pricing, just because of the added inefficiencies, the added work, the added wear and tear. But that is something that we would have entertained with a shorter contract. With a longer one, no.
And we did I did get a number from Tony originally before we went out to bid. Because I would have preferred that, because if we just got an extension, I wouldn't have had to do all this work. But the cost was prohibitive. It was so high that we felt it wasn't worth moving it one year to then go ahead and bid out. And if they're only looking at doing it at a short term, Up the Drive, we'd still end up with no bid for Up the Drive for our future years as well. Because their model is not interested in moving, staying with Up the Drive at all.
Yeah, and to give you an idea, we have to replace those pickup trucks that we do Up the Drive with twice as often as we would replace a normal garbage truck. So it's about every 4 or 5 years that pickup truck's out of there and you're buying a brand new. So it is inefficient that way. One thing I did let Kathy know though, is if you were to look at going curbside, we were open to keeping Up the Drive for the first 6 to 12 months of the year, just to help with the ease of transition, without raising the rates way up there either. So that was an option.
Yeah.
And I guess this could be for either rep. One thing I thought of, is there a blended program where, some of our drives are short residential driveways, but some of them are more rural, way set back off the road. Is there an option for us to consider that would be curbside plus Up the Drive?
We do have that in some areas. Yeah, and then Jason will probably tell you the same thing. They might have it somewhere too, where the majority of residents' properties are curbside. They have a cart, they put it at the end of the curb, at the end of the driveway, we pick it up. Others who choose to have the Up the Drive service with the driveways you mentioned, they can pay for that premium themselves and get that service, because again, different truck, so forth, so it is going to be a little bit more costly.
So we did that in Waukesha where we had curbside. We were Up the Drive, and then we ended up changing everybody over. That was 10 years ago when Waukesha County came in with the new single sort type of thing. And then the people that wanted it paid for it. And the people that needed it for medical reasons, we had in our contract so many Up the Drives for those people, just in case. So, but that's not the direction we went in on our bids, on our proposals.
Yeah, I mean, should we go to only curbside pickup? I mean, some of the long standing expectation of the community is that there is up the drive service, and to know that there is an option available to them, that would be huge for them. Would that have any bearing on the price? Say that we chose to take a curbside option, would you separately bill somebody who wants up the drive, or do you guys need to know who needs up the drive? As far as
We would bill them separately, but we would also need to know who would all sign up for that, yeah. We would bill each individual resident themselves.
They'd have to
But if-
contact them and decide.
Okay. I've got 70 feet from the curb to my garage. Somebody may have 1,700 feet. I don't know how. Are we talking one size fits all, and either have one for $2 and the other one's $4, regardless of how long their drive is? I
I
mean,
think I think everybody gets curbside. And those that want to have up the drive pay an extra fee directly to them. So they would contact the vendor and they would say, I want up the drive, what's gonna be a cost of an up the drive service? And they would pay that extra fee. But on their taxes, the cost on their taxes would be the same for everyone, and making the presumption that everybody would be curbside. And those few that wanted up the drive would pay that extra fee directly to the vendor.
yeah, I guess since you guys are both here, can you both you guys address at the podium?
My name is Jason Johnson.
Can
Can
you,
you come up
yeah,
Yeah.
try one more time.
Here's what's gonna happen.
We're on recording.
Here's what's gonna happen. People are used to the drive service, okay? They're gonna pay the money to get out of the audit, to keep it up the drive. I don't wanna give a sales pitch for them. We're very reluctant to offer that service. Because, just to give you, you have 3,800 homes, let's call it 4,000 for simple math. It's 8,000 carts at $80 a cart. We're all gonna go buy those, and then people are gonna say, we don't want this service. And it's gonna just slowly unwind back. We would consider long driveways to what this gentleman brought up. That number's probably around 200 feet, 250 feet of a driveway. But that would be the limitation. We do that type of work in Summit. And we already experienced it there, and that's why we're very reluctant to offer that hybrid service. Because many subdivisions of a driveway from here, the garage is at the blinds, they don't wanna bring their garbage. And the economies of scale just start to not work out. Where now I've gotta send out 5 pickup trucks and 2 rear loaders to pick up 2,200 homes. And I've got an automated truck to pick up the remaining 1,500 homes. The numbers really get out of whack. So for GFL, we would consider it for the long driveways. But otherwise, probably not. That's our stand. We do the services right across the road in the town of Merton, up the drive. For them, it was a lifestyle. That was the service that they're accustomed to. We understand that. There's some geographical issues with the lakes. Whereas in Delafield, we don't really have the lake issues. But they wanted to keep the service. They felt it was a quality of life issue. And they said they were willing to pay it. We were happy that we got that work. So we're indifferent to how to do it. But with that being said, you need the vast majority of people to have the same type of service. Otherwise, it just
it's a mess.
the scale doesn't work out for our company, and I'm sure for Wasteman as well. But that's where we would stand.
I have a problem with curbside from a public works standpoint. Because there's a couple of houses in my subdivision, and I'm not saying it's universal. They still drag their stuff out to the curb, even though they can have it done with their garage. I don't know why. It's 2 o'clock in the morning and Nick's guys are driving down the road with the plow and guess what's sitting in the frickin' gutter? 2 garbage cans. They have to plow around the darn things. And one of those people who drags them out to the curb is the biggest griper about. They always plow into my driveway in. Well, you got your garbage can sitting there. What do you expect them to do? And that's one of the things is I think from a public works standpoint, and I'm not trying to talk. These guys, I don't do it, they do. Having the stuff sitting out in the gutter is not the place to have it, because in the gutter ends up in the ditch if you don't have curb and gutter, and most of the subdivisions and houses don't have curb and gutter on them. And where does that stuff end up? All over creation.
I think by the sense of us being the only one that
Can
offered
you
it,
step up to the microphone, please? We are recording. Thank you.
for us. You know, we're one of the last that are offering this service. And we were reluctant to even provide it here because this was on our hit list when we were advanced disposal as a candidate to automate. Like I mentioned, a lot of the other spots are, we can't get the trucks down roads in Merton around the lakes in certain spots, so it's a little bit of a different animal. So, you know, 10 years, we're happy to provide an up the drive quote. Because that is a significant investment with the life cycle of the pickup trucks, etc. You know. We'd likely continue that service in 10 years because we do have. Those longer term contracts, like I mentioned, we just started in Merton. We're there a year and a half now, it'll be 2 years at the end of the year. That was a 7-year agreement, so. You know, we've made those investments, but we're gonna continue it. But. Yeah, there's not many people that are left willing to do it, so.
The price was $30.83 per unit.
Right.
How does that translate to each residential property? Is that,
That's a rest of
Hold on.
it's not $30 a year.
No,
Per
What-
month.
Per month,
per month.
Per month.
It's just, I'll get you a number. Just give me one second.
Well, I mean. $360 some bucks.
70.
372. 371 something.
will there be no?
417, almost 418 with the solid waste disposal.
So I mean, we're looking at.
Was 241 before.
140.
Mhm.
Cause it was 241 on a residential unit.
Yep.
Last tax or last tax year.
Right.
So. Questions for any of the reps?
I think they'll do what we want them to do, but I just. They'll do
Well, not
whatever
all.
we wanna pay
Not all.
for them, but I think. I think that. I'm willing to make a motion to go with the 383. Plus the $4 or whatever the heck it is, and for the 10-year contract.
I think he means up the drive service through.
Yes,
GFL.
up the drive. Yes,
Is that a motion?
I'll make the motion.
So the motion standing is to approve up the drive service from GFL with the 10-year contract, is that correct?
Correct. I just
there
did a
anyone-
crappy job of making the motion. I apologize.
No, you're good. Is anyone willing to second that?
I'll second it.
Motion made by Joe, seconded by Jane. Any further discussion from committee members?
I just wanted to confirm that GFL does not have a charge for their bulky waste collection.
For the, yeah, for the bulky, we, on the up the drive, yeah, we have that included in the services. Correct.
We're getting more with this proposed agreement than we have right now.
With this up the drive, it will have, one pickup, of a bulky item, like a couch or chair or something like that.
One TV.
every time,
A year.
And then up to 4 tires in a year. And, one TV per year.
Correct.
Which we don't have right now.
Right, they go in ditches.
The only thing is that we would need the resident to call in.
Yeah.
To schedule it. That material does have to go to the curb.
Yeah.
Much like the program is now. And then I think it was like $5 a tire above that. And then we did give some pricing for the items above and beyond. Some people just can't wait to have 2 items disappear, so. We'll of course offer that a la carte, and then we would charge the revenue directly.
So we would get that all in a contract before so we'd work all that out in the contract to make sure it's all very,
We're in the
Specific.
discussion. Anyone else have clarification or question? Motion's made, seconded, and no other questions are heard. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries 4-0.
This is a recommendation to the village board, or is it?
recommendation, the village board.
Okay. Just one.
Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks, appreciate it.
I only hope the stuff that people put out at the end of the drive, the extra stuff is still there when your guys come by to pick it up. I just know what happens.
Some of it, the couches are.
The couches are, but the rest of that stuff is like,
You drop off those tires anytime, I canceled the container being delivered for it.
Wonderful,
Cool,
thank you.
Yeah.
And
thanks, guys.
Tony,
Come there, knock on the door, somebody will probably work it out.
do you have just a minute for me?
Yeah.
Uh, last year, or the year before, when contracts didn't stay with your company, I had a couple municipalities have trouble with the last couple of weeks pickup. Are we gonna expect that?
No.
Excellent. That's all I wanted to hear.
No.
I didn't think so anymore, but I guess it was a buildup in a couple other communities.
Originally, when that acquisition came through and some of those contracts went to the side, a lot of those drivers that came over from ADS
Mhm.
left to move on to whoever was doing it because they wanted to stay.
Yeah.
Like,
Okay.
We can't help it when people walk up your door sometimes, and that's.
Yeah,
Yeah.
very true.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
You too. All right, item 8, agenda items for the future. I think we have 2 or 3 already.
Yep, so far I've got the Lisbon Business Park East flow meter install quotes and Booting Peterson quote for regrading. Don, are you gonna have the info from the county and sewer pack for the sewer service area for next month, or should we wait and see?
I think we'll wait and see. I mean, I should, but we'll wait and see.
Sometimes they
Butane-
take their sweet time.
So, on that note, if we do get something back from Sewer Pack and, do we want to, bring back a discussion on, possible meeting with property owners? Or,
Sure,
I mean, only if we get something back from Sewer Pack. It's not worth speaking about until we
I
know
think it'll
what kind of
be
situation.
outside of the committee.
Yeah. Sewer pack, what they define, if we shrink this area as an example by half, it may change sewer pack's answer. What I'm saying is, we need to know it's not just this area we're talking about, these other areas. We need to get that information to sewer pack in order for them for Joe Deedle to make a determination about what we're gonna have to do.
So they would work off informal commitments.
Yes. Because we're gonna tell them, this is what, I mean, I've gone over there more times than I care to. With a drawing with a magic marker and said, this is our area, what it's going to be. I'll send you the letter tomorrow. It doesn't take any more than that, but they need, I don't. If Joel is basing it just upon what Don gave him. That's one thing, but we have these other areas, and I think we're going to end up doing a full-blown facility plan amendment. Given these other areas plus whatever Sussex comes up with. I would bet that we're going to end up doing the whole thing, but we need to get the information for Joel, for him to come back to us, say this is what we're going to require you to do.
Unless, of course, we want to just stay with the area we want to stay with, so we can do a, just a small amendment, so we can get this project going, so we can get this developer to start developing.
But we won't be able to size the pipe for anything outside that one development.
Okay, all right,
We can't do that.
understand. Another area, is the sign area. I didn't place on the agenda, the outline for policy and procedures for the traffic, speed and sign control. Bring that back for next week or next month.
Did you get that done?
Well, otherwise it'd be on this agenda, next agenda.
Okay,
We pulled it for this month because it wasn't.
okay, that's fine. I didn't know how, I was. AWOL last month. I didn't know where that got. I thought you had a great start on it.
Thank you.
I think that is going to be a fantastic document. I think it is.
Right.
We can hope. And we can approve. Or recommend, I should say.
Yes,
Yeah.
recommend. We can't do anything.
Okay,
Anything else?
That's all I have.
trying to think if we need anything with that wire road thing, but. That's.
Oh. So if we don't put it on the agenda, but if you get something, discussion, if you get some time for a discussion with Pewaukee, he might be able to bring some update. We can put that on the agenda if he has that ability.
Any other committee items?
No, I'd like to thank Kathy for all the work she put in on this garbage contract. I never had an inkling until last week, although it has to go into this stuff. I thought it was just. Is it $2 or $3? This is like reinventing the wheel. She's really put a lot of work in it, so I appreciate that.
Thank you.
All right, hearing no other items to be placed, I'll look for a motion of adjournment
I'll make the motion.
made by Joe.
I'll second.
Seconded by Jane. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion 4-0 to adjourn.
Yes.
Out of the meeting at 6:09 PM.
Since they redid this,
What?
are we